YouTube not so much yet, but Facebook and right. I think we're live. So there we go. We're live. So hopefully I don't need to press any buttons. I'm gonna right. Let's get going. Let's start. I've got my stack of 50p's here. This is the best Thursday afternoon program on the internet, and we've got a super expert. It's been a while. What have I've got to press this button, I think.
No, don't have to press anything. Just carry on.
Okay, I've got to carry on. Right. Okay. So I've got my stack of 50p's. No more swearing. We're finished with the green room. We're live. And we've got a special guest. It's been a while since we've had this chap on. He does know his stuff. And I had to interrupt him because we were having a really interesting conversation earlier on. However, I've got to do something difficult. Actually, two things that are difficult for me. Try and stay quiet and listen. And just pay attention to this really important subject, which Mr. Khan, welcome back, sir. It's delighted to have you. We were discussing something really interesting. We can talk about it at the end of the thing, I guess. But and I've got my co-host Charanjit, who's putting up with my stuff as well as usual. Anyway, enough of my stuff. No more swearing. Let's get going. Mr. Khan, welcome back, sir. Delighted to have you, and thank you for sharing a secret wisdom earlier on. Might ask you some questions, but I'm going to stay quiet, hand over to you, and off you go, sir. And I think the first thing you're going to ask me is, can I share, right?
Yeah.
Yes, it's fine.
That'd be
You
a
can
good
share.
starting point.
Okay, I've put enough 50p's in, you can share. So off you go, sir. So tell us what you're going to talk about. It's a really important subject today.
Right. So initially, what we discussed, I mean, just a while ago, as we were starting this session, we were talking about offshore foundations and offshore trusts holding UK properties. That is quite popular at the moment, and the reverse is happening. So I'm being instructed on bringing an offshore foundation or a trust to the UK because it's no longer tax viable. And there are quite a few things that need to be taken into consideration, but I'm helping quite a few clients who've done the rounds, going to every tax advisor in the country and every tax big. But it's something I've done quite a few of them, so I know the process quite well. So if there's anybody who's got a problem with offshore trusts and offshore foundations and they want to bring everything onshore, yeah, get in touch with me. So what we're talking about today is the rise and fall of hybrid LLPs. Now, the reason I thought I would discuss this in this session today, hang on, let me just find my Zoom. There we are, and I will share my screen. Right. Okay. So you guys can see my screen?
Yep.
Yeah.
So I'll quickly. So this is essentially me. I thought I'd talk about rise and fall of hybrid LLPs is because it's very relevant to landlords, and there is a property group out there. But there are only main two property groups that are selling tax schemes and hybrid LLPs and stuff. I don't like to take names, but they claim to pay less tax, and then I think the other one is Property 118. So it's they have been selling tax avoidance schemes to unwary and innocent landlords. And now HMRC is catching up with them. This is less tax for landlords and property 118. So HMRC is catching up with them, and it's been in the news quite a lot recently. And I thought I would talk about it in terms of what's wrong with some of the schemes that they've been selling to landlords, because I've got a lot of people who are approaching me. So I did a webinar on this, and it's sort of available on YouTube as well, about 2 weeks ago. Same kind of presentation. What's wrong with the tax avoidance schemes that they're selling, and how HMRC is going to view it. And what's gonna happen to these landlords that have been using these two property groups? In my view, and there's a lot of if you go to tax policy, and there's a lot of articles on these guys. So this is just a little bit about us in terms of what we do for Churchill Tax. We specialize in tax law, tax planning, a lot in tax property taxation in the UK and offshore, and we do some tax investigation work, inheritance tax planning as well. Quite a lot of property related work. So the tax scheme, one of the tax schemes that's being promoted by one of these property groups, called the hybrid LLP tax scheme. Also did another webinar called Bad Tax Schemes, which is about one of these property groups as well. Promoted heavily by property groups who are not qualified in tax, not regulated by ACCA, ICW, or ICIOT, so they're not qualified tax advisors, but they're talking about tax planning. And what makes me upset is that very good landlords, innocent, unworried landlords, go to these property groups to get tax advice who have no expertise in tax. So one of the schemes that they're selling is a hybrid LLP tax scheme, where set up a partnership on LLP and they introduce a limited company as a partner into the LLP, and the profits are then allocated to the LLP instead of the real human beings, because the human beings pay tax at 40 or 45%, and they don't get tax relief on the mortgage interest. Whereas if it goes to the limited company pays tax only at 19%, and it gets full tax relief on the mortgage interest. And but what's really bad about this scheme is, yes, in theory it looks nice, but HMRC outlawed this in 2014. And they said, well, we will not allow something like this, and instead we will tax the human on the profits that have been allocated to the limited company. But one of the worst things about going to a property person to get tax advice is the property person doesn't need to keep up to date with the tax law, the changes in the tax law. So they don't have no idea that this changes have been. Sorry. So they had no idea that the rules have been changed. And so I had clients coming to me in 2017, 2018 that, look, those guys are doing these hybrid LLPs and they help you save so much tax. Why don't you do this? I said, well, because it was outlawed. Anyway, it happened once, twice, 3 times, 10 times, 15, 20 times. So I thought I would do a webinar. So I did a webinar about this back in 2018. That guys, don't use these hybrid LLPs. They're outlawed in 2014. You guys should really stop doing this. And don't go to these property people. They're not tax experts. Anyway, people continued going and they kept on making money. And then I did another webinar about it in 2019, 2020, I think last year I did a webinar about this. And but what's happened now is HMRC have said openly that we will not allow this. This has been outlawed, and a lot of people are panicking. People who've been going to less tax for landlords are panicking. So I had a meeting today with somebody who's been using them. I had an inquiry yesterday, so a lot of people are coming to me. And the same goes for Property 108. And people are panicking in terms of, because HMRC is going to clamp down. These companies are probably going to get shut. I don't know, but they're probably going to shut down and disappear, just like some other companies that have disappeared in the past. And a lot of landlords who are left with this will be stuck, who've used the schemes, and they'll have to pay hefty fines, hefty penalties. So this is something that you need to be very, very aware of. So I said, you allocate profits to the limited company, pay corporation tax at 19%. A limited company claims finance costs as a member of the LLP. Other partners pay tax at the basic rate. So nobody pays very little tax, and there's no inheritance tax to pay as well because the company qualifies for some exemptions. This is all rubbish. It's all rubbish. The legislation was introduced in 2005, but HMRC made changes to it in 2014. That said that if you add a limited company as a partner to an LLP or a partnership and allocate the profits to the limited company, they will not allow this. Okay, they will not allow this, and they will tax the individual humans at the 40% rate. There is no, and plus there is no other inheritance tax reliefs available. So if there are any landlords in this group or the viewers who've used these hybrid LLP tax schemes, HMRC have confirmed that this doesn't work. You may need to tax a tax, but how you deal with it is you essentially you can get in contact with me, and we'll help you settle with HMRC, because I'm doing that for quite a few people at the moment. Stop participating in the scheme. Just don't do it anymore. Walk away as soon as you can. A lot of this is landlord forum, so I'm speaking about this because a lot of people are getting into trouble. And we've got one client who's got tax liability for just over £250,000, £250,000, because of using the scheme. Okay. The promoters, these property groups that there are, they're most likely to close down their business and disappear. HMRC will charge them penalties for not registering. They'll get penalties up to £1 million. They've got some daily penalties coming. So these promoters will go down. So it's it's a very hot topic at the moment. It's all over the news. If you want to go, you can look at some more details on the tax policy website. HMRC's website is there. There's another group that's also, I think, property one. They're talking about creating artificial directors, loan accounts for an incorporation, transferring properties into a limited company. You've got to be very careful with that. That's also about to fail. A lot of people are panicking. So if you've been using one of these schemes, get in contact with me, and I'll be more than happy to help. Give me a second. Get back some water. Right. So that's it from my side. If you've got any questions, this is a very hot topic at the moment, and it can potentially create some very big liabilities for people who are landlords, especially landlords, because this is mainly used by a landlord.
So Jamal, couple of questions that come to mind. In the past, when Section 21 was being introduced, the normal process was, if it qualifies for multiple properties and you're a partnership, you can then move into a partnership and then transfer into a limited company. That's not what this is about, is it? Am I right?
This is one of them. You can. This is also a part of that.
Yeah, but this is one extreme of that. Am I right in thinking that?
This is part of that, and there is another. I mean, the one that I talked about, property 118, they're doing incorporation, but they're creating artificial directed loan account and deferred completion.
So
they don't.
So
there's quite a lot of, it's a variation, but it's a variation of the transferring properties into limited company, but done in a very conniving way, shall I say?
Yeah. So look, when Section 21 came about, I think it was Osborne that started it, and everybody panicked, and then all these people came out and said, well, look, if you're a partnership, you can then transition a partnership into a limited company. And if you do it Is that still a viable option, provided you're doing it correctly and you're sufficiently large enough? Is that still going on? Is that
Oh
still?
yeah, yeah. Transferring properties into limited company is viable.
Yeah.
Maybe you keep on saying section 21, section 24, but it's still a viable option. We do a lot of incorporations. You've got to do it properly, right? You've got to tell the bank, you've got to tell HMRC, you've got to do it properly, you've got to make a disclosure, you've got to file returns. And then as long as you qualify, you've got to do the. I think I did a presentation on your panel there. I think 2 years ago. You've got to have enough properties where you can, and you're at least spending at least 20 hours a week managing the properties, and you've got to be able to demonstrate that. So as long as you can do that, it's fine. And as long as you've got a partnership set up, the partnership has been filing tax returns, then that's absolutely fine. There's no, plus you make a proper disclosure to HMRC, you tell the bank, you update the land registry.
Yeah, and sorry, did you say you've got to tell the bank and tell the land mortgagee and land registry, right?
Yeah, you've got to tell everybody. You can't keep it a hush hush. This is because the mortgage providers normally don't. There's a specific clause in every mortgage document that you need to tell us if you are changing the ownership. So some people are not telling the banks, and they're doing it under a deed of trust or a declaration of trust.
Yeah,
it's not allowed. Banks don't allow that. Because the banks don't allow it, HMRC will not allow it.
Aren't they separate?
No, they are, but the banks, the company has the individual has a liability. They cannot pass that liability on to the limited company, essentially.
Yeah.
Without the bank knowing. The bank has to know who is their debtor, right? Who's going to pay the money.
Okay.
So I've had a couple of cases. We do call up tax investigations. For me, it's unless you're transparent and you don't tell, then you've got to have problems.
Yeah. Okay. Sharon, have you got any questions? You were obviously looking really interested in this stuff.
Yeah, it is. I mean, obviously, it's very relevant and interesting. Yeah. Can you hear me? Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was just saying, Jamal, so are we saying that these hybrid LLP schemes were illegal even before Section 24 came into force, which was 2017?
Absolutely.
Right.
The reason they came in was because people were using them because they would introduce a corporate partner, a limited company, into a partnership, and all the profits would be allocated in there into the limited company, so that it gets taxed at 19% instead of 45% or 40%. The HMRC caught up with it, and they said they stopped it in 2014.
So even before landlords started to use the scheme?
Yeah.
Was this the scheme that was being used to defer or mitigate? I'm not sure what the correct word is. Car tax. Sort of people were saying you form a limited liability partnership with a limited company and yourself, and there's a car that you can use, and it's not taxed to you as a personal vehicle. I heard about this.
Very insignificant. This is really big. These are big. My cars and cars.
Yeah.
So
it was more to do with the mortgage interest, wasn't it? Because
mortgage interest. No, not just mortgage interest. Before the mortgage interest, it was just the limited companies pay tax at 19%, and individuals pay tax at 40%.
So why wouldn't people just buy property in limited companies now? That's it. Just get rid.
No, it's not about that. Well, there are many commercial and tax factors that decide that. It's about mostly was people who had already bought properties in their name, who already had properties, and they were going into. So today I saw somebody who's got about 23 properties. And he's accumulated these properties over his lifetime. He's about 60 years old, and he had gone to these providers, and they said, "Well, we've got a solution for you," and now he's got about 150 to 200,000 pounds of tax to pay.
And so, what would happen in that scenario? What's the worst news and what's the least worst news?
Well, you've got to settle up. You just have to do it properly. You have to disclose to HMRC. You go voluntarily. You go follow the proper channel. The penalties are very small. if HMRC come and knocking down on your door, yeah, then the penalties are very high. So this is what I'm saying to people is disclose now, fix your affairs now before HMRC clamp down, because then at least at that time when they clamp down, you'll be standing in the shade smiling, saying, I'm glad I'm out of it.
When you say penalties are small, how small do you think? What's the sort of range?
Penalties around about 10-15% if we go now. But if we wait, then it could be a lot higher.
Okay, so basically you've got to end up paying the tax difference plus another 10 or 15%, right?
Yeah.
And you say small. I mean, recently I heard on the news it was Bernie Ecclestone got done for 600 million for not declaring a 400 million trust or something.
That's fine. That's because they were dodging tax. This is different.
Yeah, I get that, but is that sort of is that am I right?
Penalties can go up to 100%.
Okay. So that's why you say 10 or 15% is a small penalty, right?
Yeah. I've seen cases where penalties up to 200%.
Okay, so yeah, Big Brother's coming for you, right?
Yeah, you just have to be careful.
Yeah. So, be your advice as a tax expert, specialist, and I guess we can use the term learned person here, is to put your hands up, wave the white flag, and get the pain over with, right?
Absolutely. And yeah, I mean, if anything is too good to be true, just stay away from it or get a second opinion. But if you put just the starting point is that you should be going to the right person. If you go, you should not the person that gives you the best news or the best savings, but the person who's got at least is this person tax qualified? Is he tax registered? How does he keep up to date with the tax legislation? The news. So you've got to go to somebody who knows what's happening in the world, and is actually accountable as well. If things go wrong, are they governed by some certain body or not?
And do they have PI? That's the other important.
Do they have PI? So you go to a person who advises people on how to do buy-to-lets and how to do HMOs, and tells people how to save tax. Goodness me. Yes, what they normally do is they latch on to a firm of barristers or solicitors or somebody, and they try to make it look kosher, but that's not how it should be. It should be.
So what do you mean, a firm of barristers or solicitors or something?
Because these property groups latch on to a firm of barristers, right? Say we are working in partnership with a firm of barristers, but that doesn't make a difference. It's still, are they the right tax advisors or not? That's the question you've got to ask. Anyway, I've got to go in a few minutes.
Right.
Yeah, if there's anything, I'll be more than happy to help. If there's any immediate question, I can answer.
Right. No, thank you for sharing that. That was quite an interesting heads up. Come
Yeah,
back.
Jamal, right, can I ask a question here?
Of course.
So just a final question, Jamal, just so I'm just trying to clarify. So are you saying that those landlords who've been badly advised and formed, hybrid LLPs, the primary reason they did that was because if the property is held in your own name after Section 24, you can't deduct the finance costs, and consequently you pay more tax, yes, on your profit.
Yeah.
So what they did was they created this hybrid LLP and they funneled all the expenses through the limited company because it was a shareholder. So now they're being, obviously the HMRC is saying you can't do that. So are they being penalized for all the tax they didn't pay? Is that what's happening? Because they should have.
Yeah.
That's basically, so that's quite a lot of tax then, right?
Yeah. I mean, I saw a guy today, and I spoke to somebody yesterday. So it's just a lot of people are panicking. Over 1,000 people have used, 1,000 landlords have used them. Just the less taxable landlords. I think about a couple of thousand for property 118. So it's just a lot of people, a lot of unworried landlords, innocent landlords that have used these guys.
No, I remember when this came out, and lots of people were then trying to solve this and saying, well, yes, you can do this. Why the LLP route? So I think a lot of people have got caught up in this, right? Which you're dealing with, obviously. Yeah. Okay, great. Yes, I just wanted to sort of just clarify that that's what yeah, was happening. So thank you for that.
Thank you for
Right.
that. Come back and give us some less bad news next time you can, right?
Yeah, well, this is in the news anyway. So whoever's a landlord at the moment should know about this.
Well,
All the
yeah.
landlords should know because it's everywhere in the news. It's, HMRC, on HMRC's website and in news press. So it's a hot topic at the moment.
Okay, look, thank you for your time. I guess you've got to run off and help somebody else mitigate this problem, yeah?
Thanks a lot. Take care. Bye, guys.
Appreciate you taking the time out. Yeah. Charanjit, that was an interesting heads up. I remember this. I think what they've done is taken something to an extreme and try to push it as far as they can, as tax guys do. But look, that was it was a brief session, really interesting. Look forward to the next one, right?
Yeah, and it's understandable. I think if you're a landlord and then suddenly, you know, one of your big costs you can't deduct, you know, as an expense, you know, I can understand why landlords try to find alternative ways of trying to save, you know, save that. Yeah, very interesting.
I mean, it's getting tougher and tougher to be a property investor, right? Because you've got so many challenges going on. You got the interest rate going on. You got basically, I think section 24 is, I got it wrong way around. 24 is really beginning to hit home now. And then you've already got the interest rate, you've got cost of living going up, and you've got all these factors where you have to keep up maintenance. It's not the thing it used to be. It's just like, whoa, it's like, you know, I remember earlier days, it was like a no-brainer, but now it's like, it's tough out there. Yeah.
I completely am. With interest rates rising, you know, with those landlords who've still got their properties in their own names, unless they're on fixed rates, it's very difficult.
Yeah. And well, the other thing that's happened is the interest rates have risen so fast, and a lot of people are on, it might be just the way I'm thinking about it. There's this trend of being on fixed rate mortgages was after the 2008 recession, as far as I can see.
That's right.
And there's figures that saying every month 100,000 people come off this fixed rate that might have been very good 2 years ago when the rates were really low. And now they're coming off those, and suddenly they're thinking, damn, that's a nightmare. So one of my friends his mortgage went from 375 to 1,500 something, right?
Oh.
Now, that's like a fivefold increase. And on the other side, his business has gone down as well. So it's a double whammy they're all facing out there. But anyway, look, we only report the news, right? We only report what's going on. We don't make it. Not yet. But no, thank you. Go on.
Yeah, I was going to say, yes, I think I saw a statistic that said nearly 80%, if I'm right, remember, that people had their mortgages on fixed rates. So it's quite a high percentage. So who will have been affected, like your friend, you know?
Yeah. And I'm thinking this is going to carry on hitting people through this next year. I'm guessing 24, because,
oh yeah,
you know, if you think about it, there's like 4% that come off every month, and if we got, you know, and it's just gonna be challenging, right? And then on the other side, you've got all these bills going up. So, any good news?
I haven't looked at inflation figures recently, so I don't know if inflation is. Well, I suppose good news is that I think the interest rates are supposed to stay on hold, aren't they?
Well, let's listen. Inflation's obviously going to go down. There's no money left. This is going to all the mortgage companies and the tax guys. No one's got any money to spend now. It's all going to end in tears, as I said in 2020 when everyone was overpaying for property. I wish I was wrong, but anyway. Bit gloomy, but at least we got Christmas to look forward to, right? How many days left? I think about 2 months.
Yeah. Okay. So, right.
Thank you for your time, and we'll have a catch up shortly. And
sure.
Let's try and get a guest on with some good news.
Yeah, good idea.
I don't know where we find them at the moment, so I'm gonna stop live streaming. Right, that's it, and I'm gonna stop this. All right.